At what point in your career you stop seeing yourself as a support function in human resources or probably just an employee, but you've understood that yes, I have become a leader?
Leadership to me is not about designation at all, but leadership is about the role or about the shift in your consciousness that actually one brings to the room.
How do you see the role of HR leadership today?
The role of HR at this point in time is evolved and pivotal like it was never before. Right now, HR is the neurosystem. They are present everywhere in the organization. They are business enablers, being the heart pumping blood to being the arteries going to the last mile.
HR has a seat on the table, at the table or not?
HR definitely has a seat on the table, but HR is the one who's building that seat.
We are here to talk about the purpose driven leadership. It talks about advancement in your career, going ahead with your career without losing yourself. Yudhishthir is a sorcerer's do. Let me explain what sorcerer is. Sorcerer is someone who helps people to find the purpose within the work and even beyond it. Yudhishthir, now it's time for a conversation where we are going to redefine what leadership is with its soul, which is purpose, and without it.
Thank you so much, Brajan, for this, overwhelming introduction. I'm humbled and I'm very happy to be part of the conversation here. Yeah,
Let's start this. Why don't you
absolutely.
take us through your journey, your career? Not the LinkedIn one, not the social media one, but the real one.
My career journey on LinkedIn is quite a neat and with a definite timeline. However, in the real sense of it, it's messier than how it looks like. I started working pretty early, with my father. He has a hospitality business,
Hmm.
and I had this awakening at one point in time, and it's a story for maybe another day, wherein I'll tell you what led me to come to HR. I came to Gurgaon and started working in HR. Worked with a couple of very good brands. Worked in training, quality, instructional design. Well, my career journey on LinkedIn is a very definitive, neat timeline. However, it's quite messy, outside. I started my journey, when I was pretty young. Started working with my father in his hospitality bit in Rajasthan, and stumbled into an HR role. And that's where I really found my true calling. I happened to work with quite good logos, as Bharti Walmart. Had the privilege of working with RP Sanjeev Goenka Group,
Hmm.
wherein I was helping them set up their FMCG business.
Big Indian MNC, big one at those times, even today, a
Absolutely,
sizable business. Hmm.
absolutely. I was heading HR for Swarovski India. However, not talking just about the logos, I'd like to share with you there have been three primary pivots, which really changed the course of my career. The first one was when I decided to come from an hospitality led, very comfortable business to, HR. The second one was, after having worked in HR and when I was at the peak of my career, I took a plunge and I got into consulting.
Okay.
I really enjoyed my stint into people and culture consulting
Hmm.
with one of the big fours. That also led me to my next opportunity,
Hmm.
wherein I was heading HR for a consumer electronics
Hmm.
brand. Along with that, the next pivot came, wherein I found my purpose.
Hmm.
I happened to, get introduced to an organization called Impossible Transformation.
Hmm.
This was a time, wherein I was able to find the true calling, my true purpose. And this was definitely a pivot. After that, everything that I did after that
Hmm.
was aligned to the larger vision that I had for
Hmm.
myself.
Are we
I'm a
talking about
co
the purpose here?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
We are getting there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so ingrained in
Yeah.
my career journey. That's such an important pivot.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Great. I'll be very direct and I must ask you this.
Hmm.
Have you ever taken up a role in your career which was like amazing on papers, but real में ना, it was not that good?
ये
You know,
क्वेश्चन कौन पूछता है इतना ओपनली?
no, without
All
naming
right.
the organization, you can always talk about it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that has happened with me, wherein I mean, I have been into very cosmetic roles, wherein it looks amazing, it looks perfect, but it actually, boxes you in a very certain way, wherein you're custodian of just the status quo.
Right.
You're discouraged from bringing anything new
Hmm.
to the table.
Hmm.
You're discouraged from inventing anything.
Hmm.
And yes, these roles exist,
Hmm.
these organizations and leaders also exist, and
Right.
I've had one of that experience. So yeah.
Lucky you that there's always an exit.
But there's a very important point, Rajan, that I'd like to share
Hmm.
on that bit.
Hmm.
So in this time, the organization or the role actually teaches you,
Hmm.
one, where you don't want to be,
Hmm.
and then it also gives you a little more clarity
Hmm.
on what will you become
Hmm.
if you are in that role, for some time.
Hmm.
So I think all my experiences have helped me,
Hmm.
shape my journey,
Hmm.
and the ones that have not been so encouraging
Hmm.
have helped me even more.
No, I'm sure. I think failures are the ones, very commonly saying, we learn more from the failures than the successes. And I think those failures are important, but should not happen with everyone that ways.
Yeah, that's correct. I
Mm.
will not even call it a failure. It's a
No, I'm
learning.
not saying
Yeah,
failure in that stand, Yudhishthir.
I
I'm
get it.
saying that,
Yeah,
we whatever you have done, it's always for the good for yourself.
yeah,
But organization, people, there's a little mismatching at times. I think one should know how to come out of it. That's what the point is.
absolutely
Yeah.
with you on that.
We are also addressing people who are looking at leadership from a different angle. A middle management person, probably a starter, probably genuinely a leader. I really want to ask you because there's a long tenure, there's a very remarkable journey that you've seen. At what point in your career you stop seeing yourself as a support function in human resources or probably just an employee, but you've understood that yes, I have become a leader. How did that transition happen? And it happens normally because की designation बढ़िया हो गई है कि अब मैं डायरेक्टर बन गया हूँ या मैं सीनियर मैनेजर बन गया हूँ, or is it more internal that yes, leadership is about feeling it?
All right, so that's an interesting question, Rajan. I mean, you've really taken me to few years behind in my career. Leadership to me is not about designation at all, but leadership is about the role, or about the shift in your consciousness that actually one brings to the room. It could be because of your the level that you are at. It could be because of your any assignment that you do. I'd like to cite an example. When I felt this the first time was, I was in middle of a very famous restructuring that
Hmm.
shook
Hmm.
the corporate world at
Hmm.
that point in time. It is about some 7 to 8 years back. I was in a room full of people, wherein had to let go of some people, had to retain some, and there were about 50 pair of eyes looking at you for clarity, looking at you for some assurance, and looking at you for giving them the requisite path
Hmm.
that one always look
Or
forwards,
aspire for.
yeah,
Hmm.
from an HR leader. I think that pretty moment was when I felt that I handled it pretty well,
Okay.
and I felt responsible.
Okay.
So the shift in consciousness at that pretty moment made me felt
Hmm.
that yeah, I was somewhere.
Hmm.
I still not call myself a leader. I think leadership and strategy are quite abused in the corporate terms at this point in time. But yes, I felt responsible.
So for you, leadership is a mindset.
Yes, leadership is a mindset. Leadership is, it's a very subtle shift that
Hmm.
happens to you,
Hmm.
and when you're not trying too hard,
Hmm.
but you're just trying to
Hmm.
be someone wherein
Hmm.
people aspire
Hmm.
to be like you, or when people seek answers from you, wherein you're able to do justice to people, to the situation.
Hmm.
That's what true leadership is all about for me.
Great. Great. People move up the ladder, Yudhishthir. AM to manager, manager to senior manager. The journey continues like that. What are the softer changes? What are the changes which one has to inculcate that yes, I am ready for that journey? This is beyond the numbers I'm talking about. This is beyond the KRAs. I'm talking about other internal changes which is important, which can be as simple as, changing the way you clothe, the changing the way you walk, and changing the way you talk. So what are those internal dynamics which has to change before you actually become that person? And what is the path towards it?
I'm not somebody who really believes that, you have to change your personality,
Hmm.
the way you walk or the way you dress, to be able to have your executive presence felt
Hmm.
in the room.
Hmm.
But one thing that I'd like to share with our viewers is as HR professionals, we are very strictly boxed, in doing what the process manual says. We are mainly process police,
Hmm.
wherein unless like really shaken up, we're not there, or we're not willing to change our thought process, to change what has been laid down. For you to be able to go to the next level, for you to be able to be a leader, in the true sense, one of the most important things is that you become agile and
Hmm.
you become enabler.
Hmm.
So when you start feeling that the boundary between business and HR has
Hmm.
blurred,
Hmm.
and when you start operating from that mindset
Hmm.
that I have to enable my business to that extent that they may not need me tomorrow, that they
Right.
may not need
Right.
the HR function,
Hmm.
is when you are ready to lead. Is when you're ready to go to the next level. That's how I look at.
That's such a deep answer that you have given. Such a deep one. So it makes, and it's, I became very clear with this answer of yours.
Thank you.
Yudhishthir, when it comes to human resources or when it comes to otherwise, normally लोग एक साथ अपना करियर शुरू करते हैं. कुछ लोग काफ़ी आगे निकल जाते हैं, they become leaders. Some people get stuck in between. Why do you think that some HR leaders, or for some HR folks, they struggle to grow towards a leadership role? What stops them? Why do
Calling for
some
a
people struggle, wherein the few of them really go far and become leaders? Why do people struggle in human resource as a division to grow to the next level?
I think, Brajan, this is a universal people problem, or people, if not problem, this is a universal people. Very very well said, Rajan. But I'd like to step back and take a little, backward view for this. I think this is a universal, um, people limitation. It is not just limited to HR, but
Mm,
it's everywhere. The pyramid is
mm,
really broad
mm,
at the bottom,
mm,
and
mm,
as we go up,
mm,
it narrows down. And one specific I mean, one specific thing that I can cite, based on my
mm,
experience, is the ability of people to be fungible,
mm,
agile,
mm.
and change as per the changing times.
Right.
Before the podcast started, I was just sharing with you how I'm trying to cope up with AI, and I'm doing course, and I'm reading about it. Whatever I learned
Mm,
during my education days, or
mm.
during my professional upbringing days about HR, those codes don't exist at all now.
Right.
Neither I have that kind of environment, nor
Right.
I have those kind of businesses. The teams that I'm managing, or the folks that I'm taking care of, are totally different. So to be able to reinvent yourself, to be able to keep yourself updated,
Mm,
and I suggest, people should be very close to academics as well.
mm,
While learning on the process is important, but to keep yourself updated with what is happening
mm,
around the world is again
mm,
a key. And this is the only differentiator
mm.
from people
Who
who
are doing
lead
well and who are
or who
not doing
follow.
well?
Yeah,
That should be.
yeah, yeah.
I thought that you'll also define purpose here, that there's a purpose. Someone who's driven by the purpose probably has a much clearer view that how to go up rather than someone who doesn't have a purpose. I'm sure there's a role of purpose also in
There is a
between.
role of purpose, but a lot of people who find their purpose, the purpose necessarily may not be very transactional and driven to achieve something. That's the moment you find your purpose, Rajan, you understand that there are other things in life which are important.
Hmm.
Now that we're talking about purpose, I'd like to share something,
Yeah,
on
please.
on that front.
Hmm.
So when I found,
Hmm.
my purpose, there's a very interesting story about how did I stumble
Hmm.
on this. My mentor, who heads people and culture consulting for one of the biggest consulting firms in the
Hmm.
country at this point in time, I went to him one day and I said that, I've really grown in my career.
Hmm.
I've got some fantastic,
Hmm.
roles. I have never been headhunted.
Hmm.
I have always been repeated my ex bosses, and I got the salary that I
Hmm.
aspired for. But there's something that's not keeping me happy.
Hmm.
My mentor said, "Yudi, तेरे पास ना तेरा purpose नहीं है."
Mm. And he
And
was blunt in saying
yeah,
this?
yeah, he I mean,
Okay.
we share a great
Okay.
repo, and he said this. I was I thought, he's gonna give me some LinkedIn gyan, and I said, all right, then tell me, how do I find it? And he introduced me, to the being centered leadership context.
Mm.
As luck would have it, I was so perplexed with my inner, turmoil of not finding, what is it that I stand for.
Right.
And eventually, I did this program, Being Centered Leadership, and I did it so well that they
Mm.
offered me to be a sorcerer. So I'm a
Mm.
sorcerer now.
Mm.
I take batches. But one very important element that I
Mm.
that I like to put across here is that the purpose that I identified for myself
Mm.
was to be a catalyst of human transformation,
Okay.
enabling people to their inner self so that
Mm.
they experience
Mm.
joy and fulfillment in their lives.
Okay.
And since the time that I've found my purpose, Rajan, I'm not like really motivated about what's the next role that I
Mm.
get.
Mm.
You know, I'm really not motivated that if I'm a head of HR,
Mm.
do I need to go ahead and be, take up an international role? But what excites me at this point in time is to make sure that I became a coach, completed the ACC journey, on my PCC journey. I coach people
Mm.
because that's something I
Mm.
realized is what my purpose is all about.
So that gives you fulfillment. That gives you
Exactly.
joy.
So coming back to your question, the
Mm.
moment you have your purpose,
Mm.
it is not necessary that
Mm.
your purpose will actually drive you towards achieving something or being a CEO
Mm.
or being an HR head.
Mm.
It has driven me away from it.
Mm.
That says
Okay.
it all.
How do you see the role of HR leadership today? When I'm saying this, what I meant is it only about matrix? Is it only about numbers? Is it only about those things which is linked to numbers crunching and so on and so forth? Or is there real value addition which is happening?
So the role of HR at this point in time is evolved and pivotal like it was never before.
Okay.
If you see HR, how
Hmm.
it has evolved from, the personal administration to the heart of the organization in the 90s. Right now, HR is the neuro system.
Hmm.
uh, they are present everywhere in the
Hmm.
organization. They are business enablers, from being the heart to pumping blood to being the
Hmm.
arteries going to the last mile.
Hmm.
And HR is so well integrated in the in businesses at this point in time
Hmm.
that they have that we have rather become business enablers from just
Hmm.
being
Just the
somebody
support.
who was just being evaluated for matrices.
Right.
So I think if you see how HR has evolved right now, if you see the kind of policies that people have
Hmm.
from that time, wherein you couldn't apply for leaves beyond a certain time, we have
Hmm.
organizations which have unlimited sick leaves. We have every good
Hmm.
organization, do things on emotional well-being, mental well-being.
Hmm. Hmm.
The organization that I worked for, we
Hmm.
just launched, pet care leaves.
Hmm.
Now we are, giving our pet parents
Hmm.
a discounted opportunity to get their pets insured
Hmm.
because that's something that matter to people.
Hmm.
There was never a time,
Hmm.
Rajan, which was better
Hmm.
and more meaningful for HR professionals than it is now.
Wow.
That's where
It
I
is
think.
such a heartening thing to know that, it is a nervous system. I think that says it all.
Yep.
My next question was, I think you've already answered that, that does really, does HR has a seat on the table, at the table or not? You know, I think you've already answered that question.
No,
And
but in continuation to whatever I said before, HR definitely has a seat on the table, but HR is the one who's building that seat. So when we get into the boardroom, all we have is other tools and some stuff.
mm,
So we get the seat on the table because we build it.
mm. Have you ever seen that there's a tension between a business priorities versus people, In such situations, how does an HR leader or person who's taking care of it really navigate so that, the soul and the people purpose should not be compromised?
I'd like to relate this to the chicken and the egg story,
Mm.
or I'd like to relate this to the good cop and bad cop.
Mm.
And the example that comes to my mind, because I have a teenager at home, the example that comes to my mind is, the mother and the father.
Mm.
That's exactly how both these things,
mm,
come together.
mm,
And the organizations wherein the mother and the father, which is the CEO and the CHRO,
mm,
gel pretty well,
mm.
everything is in place.
What an example. You're talking about the dual leadership, right? A soft one and a little hard one.
Absolutely. I'm
Okay.
talking about, if I for our viewers, if I have to explain it a little
Mm,
bit,
mm,
business priorities is something that we all exist for.
right.
If that is something that's not taken care of,
Mm,
the organization will not exist, neither will HR.
mm.
However, is it possible for us to be able to,
Coexist
you know,
together.
yeah, is it possible for us to be able to, take care of the business priorities if we do not do what the HR does, like the software aspect? No. So it's like the mother and father both need to be there for the child to be able to grow up to be a nice human being. That's what I think.
Okay. Moving on to the next question, it is again purpose. Purpose is something, do you think it's discovered or you actually realize it over the period of time? You have told me about your story. Tell me a little more details about it. That
Yeah.
is it discovered or is it realized?
Purpose is always there within you.
Okay.
We are not born without a
Mm,
purpose.
mm,
However, the challenge with all of
mm,
us is that we are so driven by or so covered by our personality.
mm.
Um, I don't want to use
With
the
the
word,
masks that we are on with.
yeah, I
Okay.
don't want to use the word ego, but I want
Mm,
to say personality. We are so covered by our
mm,
personality that we are never able to see our being or operate from it.
mm,
And that's the reason
mm,
we are not able to find a
mm,
purpose. So you don't generate a purpose,
mm,
you always find a purpose. So
mm,
the purpose is something which is there
mm,
within Rajan.
mm,
All you need to do for this is discover yourself,
mm,
discover your being,
mm,
get rid of your ego, or maybe, get over your personality.
mm,
And believe you me, Rajan, this is very
mm,
difficult. How uh, you go to school, you go
mm,
to college, you go
mm,
to so many places
mm.
to develop a personality.
Right.
And today Yudhishthir comes and tells you that Rajan, ये personality को बिल्कुल छोड़ दो side
Mm,
में.
mm,
But when you get over your personality, you'll be able to identify your true being.
mm,
And then through your being, you'll be able to find your
mm,
purpose. So, to answer your question,
mm,
purpose is there within you.
mm.
You need to do certain exercises to be able to find it.
Yudhishthir, talking to you, it seems like I'm talking to a soulful HR. I think we must coin this word, human resource and then the soulful HR. I think the purpose thing that you're talking about, it is such bang on, it's already there inside us.
Yeah.
We need to see and unravel a lot of things to actually see it. I think it's a good take of yours. Yudhishthir, in your career, which people decisions or what decisions have actually shaped you as a leader? I'm sure it can't be one. It could be two, three, four major ones. What actually shaped you?
There are many,
Hmm,
very clearly. One of them was at any given point in time not being attached to the place that, that you are in. And I'll give you an example. I left my family business when I was at the peak of it.
hmm,
I left my corporate job when I was at peak of it.
hmm,
I left consulting when I was doing very
hmm,
well.
hmm,
So one, trying to stretch yourself
hmm,
and find new
hmm,
avenues. I think it's the magic actually lies in being uncomfortable.
hmm.
You know,
Or risk taking, if I say.
yeah, absolutely.
Hmm,
Being uncomfortable, just taking the risk because you just go out, thrash it out all alone and
hmm,
rediscover yourself.
hmm,
And then the version
hmm,
that gets generated is always like 2.0 or 3.0.
hmm.
Yeah,
And which is a better version for sure.
absolutely.
And you end up being a better leader that ways.
Absolutely.
Great. What emotional muscle should a leader develop just to make sure that he completes his tasks and responsibilities with compassion, or probably driving profits with compassion? So, what is that emotional muscle which he has to build on?
Okay. Um, there are there are two things in there. Uh, I think authenticity,
Hmm,
which is not an emotional muscle, but yes, a leader has to
hmm,
be authentic.
hmm,
And then at any and every
hmm,
situation, the leader has to be empathetic.
hmm,
Empathy is something, which will which makes you put yourself in that situation. And if you're not able to do that effortlessly, um, you know, the leadership goes for toss. So I think
Mm,
authenticity and empathy are
mm,
two things that
mm,
has worked for me.
mm. And it actually solves a purpose and balances both
Yeah,
profit
yeah,
versus compassion and with people.
yeah.
Great. Yudhishthir, thank you so much for your time. The conversation with you has been very, very insightful. The topic that we chose, purpose driven leadership, I think we are very close to understanding the whole stuff. In fact, it has prompted me also to go and find the purpose. One last comment, a closing comment, from your side. When we talk about purpose driven leadership, give us a closing comment which is valid today and even valid for the future.
So 10 years down the line, when we're trying to look into future, shape our careers, we will be able to advance or do something drastically different, once we have stepped inwards, and once we have identified our own inner self. So I think this is very interesting, for us to understand what is it that we can do differently,
Mm,
um, to just break the glass ceiling, say 5, 6, or 10 years down the line, when we are when we're trying to reinvent ourselves. Something that's really important is to discover oneself, rise beyond your preconditioned personality, rise beyond your ego, try and find the purpose that you stand for. Once we have our inner purpose clear, once we know what is it that's the larger cause that we stand for, we'll definitely be able to shape the wheel of one's life. So my recommendation to all our HR folks
mm,
today is that keep reinventing,
mm,
keep learning new things, but as you go outwards,
mm.
it's also very important to go inwards.
Great.
Once you
Great.
know yourself, then the world's there for you to conquer. So yeah.
So you have killed it, sir. With the closing statement, you've actually killed it. But thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful speaking to you today. And for thank you for building the meaningful conversation also. Thank you so much, Yudhishthir.
Thank you so much for having me, Rajan. This is one of the conversations wherein, it felt so effortless. It felt so close to my heart. And I'm also very excited about the fact that some things in HR which are not really spoken about, like
Mm,
finding your purpose,
mm,
I'm able to, through you, I'm able to, bring it forth and
mm.
share it with the younger generation of viewers. So thank you. I
Most
really
welcome.
enjoyed it.
Most welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The People Engine podcast is our effort to bring forth conversations from the perspective of human resources because we truly believe it's the people who make the businesses. Follow us for more interesting stories.